a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straight in the curve.
Before we get into the debate, we should probably just recap a little bit, the crisis. What was the past history? You were there last October. Mm-hmm. So give us just a little quick synopsis of, what happened, kind of, and then, how we had the fallout, things that happened throughout the course of the year, what's leading up now to October, and just kind of hit some of the high points.
Well, I mean, it's actually quite easy. You have the ringleader, I would say, is definitely Cardinal Walter Kasper, who's a German bishop, and the German bishops themselves are pretty much threatened under men like Cardinal Marx, for example, that they will go into schism if something doesn't happen to change so that unrepentant, divorced, and remarried Catholics can come back to community, come back to the sacramental life of the Church. So they're putting a tremendous amount of pressure on Pope Francis. And in Germany, I mean, it's a financial thing. They want to fill those pews. And if they fill those pews with more people, divorced and remarried, they're going to get more revenue. Exactly. That's the way it works there. And so you have this big division now over an issue of morality. It's connected with the issue of gay and lesbian unions and homosexual marriage and all of that. But for the most part, we're going to be talking about at the Synod. We're going to be talking about whether or not it's possible to take a pastoral approach to people who are divorced and remarried without changing church dogma. Now there are liberals, especially modernist people, German cardinals and so forth, that I don't think really care too much about changing. They think dogma should evolve, to accommodate the way it is in the modern world. So you have this huge divide now over the issue of the family. And then you have men like Cardinal Burke and Athanasius Schneider and Cardinal Mueller and people like that who are saying, no, you can't do this without changing dogma. So it just, I think that's why we chose this topic, is because this is being debated at the highest echelons in the church right now.
Right.
Unfortunately, alas, but since it is, we need to debate it too down here to find out what we think about where this is all going to go. Are we heading into de facto schism? I don't know. We're going to find out in a few weeks here, starting Friday. And the AOTM's got to be on board having a debate over this. Is it possible to do this? To have a pastoral approach without watering down or subverting or undermining dogma.
Yeah, well, explain a little bit kind of how it got kicked off. Wasn't there like a document that was that came out, like halfway through or early on within the Synod last October?
Yeah, the midterm document, the Relatio, which contained unbelievably controversial thing, talking about the value, for example, of the homosexual lifestyle. So we went from, homosexuality, homosexual acts being considered intrinsically evil, mortally sinful, and even to this day in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, a serious abuse and so forth, to talking about their value and the contribution that they make to society. So those things were put to a vote, for example, on the homosexual question. They didn't get the majority vote that they needed to leave it in the document, and yet it stays in the document anyway. It's still there. And so the concern that many of us had was, it appears like these things are now debatable because princes of the church are debating them. And so for regular guys like us, people at work that we work with and so forth, it's already a fait accompli in a way. They're already saying, I guess this stuff is all debatable. So, hey, the Catholic Church is changing dramatically and radically. But there are people like Cardinal Burke who are saying, no, you can't do that. You can't change dogma. Right. Christ doesn't evolve. Dogma doesn't evolve. You can't do this. And so you have the makings right now, as Bishop Athanasius Schneider called the fourth great crisis in the church. It's clearly a crisis. And you have the potential for some sort of schism to form in the church. Exactly who's going to be on what side is not determined yet, but it's heated and it's that high of a level where we're talking about schism in the church over a moral issue of moral theology. It's unprecedented.
Right. So you have a synod called that's supposed to be talking about pastoral issues of families.
Yeah.
But that's really not what ends up happening.
No.
You end up having this conference that ends up getting hijacked in a way by this early document that comes out.
Yeah.
And starts talking about these controversial issues. Mm-hmm. And so right away, kind of like halfway through or early on, the synod ends up getting divided.
Pretty much gets sidetracked. Yeah.
Gets very sidetracked on these issues. Because I know early on there was a lot of people, even at the argument of the month when we were prepping and stuff like that, they kept saying, well, Kent, that's not what the synod was about. It's about the family. Well, I'm like, well, sorry, that's what they started. They started wanting to talk about the family, pastoral issues, but now it's getting hijacked by these issues.
Yeah.
And as you said, it was these issues weren't supposed to be back on the table because they didn't receive the votes needed to stay on the table, but they're being put back on.
And even that, what's confusing is that there's now a book of all of these aspects of the relatio under Francis's name that's been officially published now. So it really does seem like it's all still on the table. These debates over very controversial issues over which there should be no debate from a Catholic point of view. And so this is just something that everyone's looking at going, gee, I wonder where this is going to go. And now that the Synod that's actually starts on Friday in Rome, I'll be there for the second half of it, is so changed in as far as its rules. There won't be a vote anymore, and it's very iffy what's going to happen. It seems like there's going to be small discussion sessions amongst the cardinals, and then Pope Francis is going to issue some sort of statement at the end. And that's why I think it's really important to have the debate that we're having, to have the discussions that we're having, because Pope Francis has indicated that he's kind of on both sides of this. On his way back from the United States, when he visited the States, he was asked about marriage again, and he very clearly said marriage is indissoluble. There's not going to be Catholic divorce.
Right.
So everybody's looking back doing, gee, I wonder what's going to happen here, because that certainly is what Cardinal Kasper seems to be aiming at, is de facto Catholic divorce and allowing these divorced and remarried to come back to the sacraments. It all depends on what Francis is going to do. And now we understand at the end of the Synod, Francis is simply going to make a statement one way or the other, and everyone needs to make their voices heard. Pray for the Pope and make their voices heard. Support Cardinal Burke and some of these men who are trying to raise the alarm. We can't do this, so that we can sort of, make sure this schism doesn't happen.
Right.
Make sure we keep everybody on board, because Francis ultimately has the final say on this.
Right. You had the split in the Synod. You have these issues, controversial issues, being put back on the table after they're voted to be gone. And then over the course of the last year, you had a number of cardinals come out, put a book out,
several,
trying to bring up what these issues are. And then you had number of bishops from different countries. I think actually the bishops of Germany said that if the Synod does not go along with allowing divorced and remarried,
they're going to do it anyway.
They're going to do it anyway.
Right.
So that's what I mean. I'm not sure if our listeners all know this, but they are basically saying, we don't care what the Synod says. We're going to do what we want to do. And that's why in the poster that we send out, the graphic that we send out, we're talking about, there seems that there's going to be a split because people are saying, I don't care. We're going to do what we want to do anyway.
Yeah, we've never seen a moment like this in history.
Right.
And to a large extent, people are watching nightly news. They're not seeing this. They don't realize what's coming.
Right.
And I think the AOTM is really providing a beautiful service. We need to wake people up.
Right.
Now is the time to realize what's happening here as faithful Catholics, to make our voices heard.
Right. We don't need... what I'm hoping to avoid is the men that come to the argument of the month aren't going to all of a sudden... What I think happened back around the time of Vatican II, where people went to church the next Sunday, and all of a sudden all the pictures were gone, all the statues were gone,
altars ripped out.
Yeah, they're not going to all of a sudden wake up and go to Mass the next Sunday, and all of a sudden enter something extreme as that, like the church has totally changed. And I'm not talking about the building, but the teachings of the church.
No, Ken, you're absolutely right, because what we could foresee happening with a good priest such as Father Eckert is if the Synod comes out and says we're going to leave this up, we're not going to change church teaching, we're going to leave it up to the pastors, to the priests. So what's going to happen? We can figure this out. What's going to happen when one priest says to a divorced and remarried couple, sure, come on back to the sacramental life of the church. That's just fine. You go through your little process here of showing that you're not happy about the fact that you're divorced, and then you can come back to the sacraments. But Father Eckert will say, wait a minute. This not only violates the law of the church, the catechism of the church, and the words of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ Himself, but it cannot be done. I can't violate the catechism on this, and so all of a sudden he becomes the bad guy.
Right.
What's going to happen? Right. I can see lawsuits happening. I can see any number of things happening where priests that hold the line, defend the church's teaching, defend the words of our Lord, the teaching of our Lord, are going to be ostracized, if not even persecuted on some level, or threatened with lawsuit. I mean, it's going to be chaos.
It's going to be chaos because it's going to seem like I urge everybody to go watch the Raymond Arroyo interview that he does with Cardinal Kasper, where he gets into depth, over this whole issue
brilliant job
of pastorally on the surface, making it look like you're contradicting church teaching. I think it sets up for even more confusion. People are going to think, Joe Sixpack on the street's going to think, well, I guess I can get divorced. Is there any such thing as, mortal sin? I mean, a lot of people are going to be like, well, wait a minute. I thought that was a sin and you couldn't go to communion. Well, I guess you can now. I think we're setting ourselves up for not just a split, but just a lot of people throwing their hands up in the air and just giving up on the faith because they're confused and saying, this doesn't make any sense to me anymore. Just walking away.
Yep, exactly. And to say nothing of young men considering the priesthood, they're going to say, wow, it looks really brutal over there. If you become a priest, you're going to have homosexual couples that are going to say they want to get married now. You're going to have divorced and remarried. And the priest is in the middle of it trying to sort all this out. It's not right. It's not fair to the priest to put him in that position.
Right.
And yeah, you can kick it up to his bishop, but we all know how that goes. I mean, this has to stay, as Cardinal Burke has said, you can't tamper with this. This is on the issue of moral faith and morals. You can't tamper with this for a bunch of obvious spiritual reasons and moral reasons, but also for practical reasons. You can't have priests down at the level of the parish trying to sort this out. And so we're facing a very interesting time in our church, and certainly nothing that's ever been seen in the past. Never. Right. Never has this been seen.
Right, and so that's why we just thought, it was high time. It's like I did not believe, and like I said, I wanted people to have clarity. So I did not believe that most Catholics had clarity on this issue. I don't think most Catholics, knew that or know that there's even this debate going on, that things are so dire that we could be seeing a split within the church. I mean, even there's guys that I've talked to over the past week. I bring this up to them, they're like, "Whoa, what?" There could be a split, and then I explain what happened with the bishops in Germany. They're like, "Wow, I never heard anything about that." Yeah. And so I really wanted to make sure that we got this out to the men, that the men of the Argument of the Month would know about this. Brace yourself for what's coming, because there could be some serious confusion coming our way within the church. So we are going to be, this will be the resolution: can communion be given to the divorced and remarried without changing the teachings of Christ, without changing the doctrines of the church? And that will be our debate on Tuesday, October the 13th, which would be almost a week from now, a little over a week from now. So please mark that on your calendar. And Mike, let's just talk a little bit about what that means. So give us a little bit of explanation on where you might be coming from.
I'm not going to do that.
I was just testing you.
I'm the debater. So I'm taking the negative. I'm not going to give Dr. What's his name again? Dr. Todd Salzman. I'm not going to give him any ammunition. I will. I think divorce is really bad because it's just not nice for people to get divorced. How about that? There's a brilliant argument. That's going to be my number one go-to, because it's just bad.
Mr. Matt, what you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, we can't have a debate. We can't have a debate before the debate starts. Yeah. And so no, I was just funning with Mike a little bit there.
I'm eager. This is Dr. Salzman from Creighton University. That's a major university, Catholic university. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. So again, the AOTM is always comes out the winner. I might lose this. I mean, this guy's probably a PhD. I don't know what he's the head of the theology department or whatever.
He's a theologian. He's a PhD.
Yeah.
It's very. Todd is on the left. Yeah. Within the church, and Mike is on the right. So Argument of the Month can't be seen as being favoritist here. We are bringing an opposition to you, very very strong, because we want the debate to be clear. We don't want any muddled, situation going on here, so everybody can understand the clear arguments that will be going on, and the church's teaching. And if there is any ambiguity, I'm sure Father Eckert will step in and stamp that out.
There will. Let's hear what Dr. Todd has to say. I mean, I'm sure he's going to come in and talk about a pastoral concern. Everyone's concerned about the fact that we do have all these divorce and remarried situations.
Exactly. Todd is still within the church. He's in the church. There's a lot of Catholics just like him. Yeah. There's so many Catholics that think like him, and so that's why we're bringing him in to say, can this be? We want to flush out the truth. Because I mean, we have all these divisions. Let's be honest here. We have all these divisions within the church because we're not getting clarity from the top.
We're
not getting clarity from the top, and so
for
therefore,
a long time,
everybody is like shuffling and trying to figure it out instead of where's the clarity coming from.
Whose fault is it that we're all divided? First of all, it's not ours. We didn't ask for any of this. But I mean, there's never been a time in the history of the church where you had liberal Catholics, conservative, so-called neo-Catholics, so-called traditional Catholics. It's all ridiculous. You had Catholics and you had heretics, or you had Catholics and you had Muslims, whatever it was. You didn't have all these divisions in the Catholic Church. And I know you and I have talked about this. What we would love to see is for all of us to be able to drop like traditional Catholic. We just want to be Catholic. But it's very difficult to do that nowadays because, like as you say, we're getting so many mixed signals coming from the top. And so we have to have these debates so that we can go back and find out what it is that we must believe in order to save our souls. Because no one's telling us that, and not too many people are telling us that in positions of authority. And so we're in that weird position of having to kind of figure it out on our own so that we can get to the happy place eventually, which is why we're here in the first place.
Yes, that's what we need, enough of our the authority coming from the top down to say, nope, the buck stops here, and this is what we should be doing. This is what it means to be Catholic.
Please, blessed clarity.
So I think that's a good way to end it. To end it tonight. So a plea going out to all of our hierarchy within the Catholic Church, saying, please
help us.
Please make us Catholic once again.
Yeah, that's all we want.
Thank you very much. We'll see you Tuesday, October 13th at the Argument of the Month, where we will have very good food and great beer, like always. Cigars will be available at the bar. We will not have a tent outside, but feel free to come get yourself a cigar, go outside, have one. You're probably going to have your last chance to do this before it gets really cold outside.
That's right.
And
menu,
just come and enjoy.
What's on the menu?
Having roasted pork.
Oh, man.
Yeah, having roasted pork and, all kinds of good, real good German meal. Perfect. And it's gonna be really good. Let's see. They also have some nice, apple crisp, dessert and real nice comfort food with nice. Whipped cream and all that. So
you said comfort food, by the way.
I did.
You did. I heard that.
Comfort food?
You said comfort food.
I did. Yep. So, and we will have appetizers. We're going to have real good beer cheese dip and some, bread and chips and all that. We had tons of bacon in it.
Fantastic.
And we do not cut back on the cholesterol.
No,
the argument of the
kind
month.
of a Protestant concern.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't. No one likes a skinny Santa.
No, it's that time of year.
Exactly. So come on down. Glad to have you. Everybody of all walks of faith are welcome, and please bring your sons and help them learn the faith also. So,
ladies, we love you, but it's just for men only.
Comes for men only. Yeah. Sorry. So
we'll see you on Tuesday.
See you on Tuesday.
All right.
Take care.
Good night.